In this series of video programmes, we take you, the viewer, on a visit to one part of the UK for a closer look at those railways and museums. If we consider this map split up into 9 different parts, it simplifies matters for area grouping. The North East is a mecca for railway enthusiasts. The region includes the world's only remaining standard gauge rope-hauled railway at Bowes, as well as 2 of Britain's most extensive preserved railways, the Keighley and Worth Valley and the North Yorkshire Moors. The region is also rich in museums, including the National Railway Collection and the exhibition of Army transport, while the Middleton Railway provides a welcome escape from the centre of Leeds. We start in West Yorkshire with the Keighley and Worth Valley Railway. This complete ex-British Rail branch line, running for 5 miles along the picturesque Worth Valley from Keighley to Oxenhope, is one of the leading lights in the British railway preservation movement. The railway, now operated by the Keighley and Worth Valley Preservation Society, was closed by British Rail in 1962 and reopened by the Society in 1968.
But you're doing only for a bit.
The railway has a great deal to offer the visitor, for both railway heritage and for the opportunity to visit an area that is rich in historical towns and villages, as well as the legacy of the Bronte sisters. As a pioneer railway preservation society, the Worth Valley has achieved a great deal, but it has not stood still. With the impetus of society members, new projects and developments are always in the pipeline, making this one of the railway enthusiasts' favourite railways. In 1990, the Bahamas Railway Society moved from Dinting in Derbyshire to the Worth Valley Railway. During the same year, this turntable was moved from Garsdale on the Settle Carlisle line to Keighley. The London and North Western Railway coal tank, built in Crewe in 1888 and owned by the National Trust, was originally on view at Penrhyn Castle in North Wales. It's now on permanent loan to the Bahamas Railway Society. The BLS's flagship locomotive, the Bahamas number 45596, prepares to set off from Keighley. This superbly restored Jubilee Class 460 is a delight for both passengers and crew. Gliding into Ingro, Bahamas is captured at ease with its surroundings. At Damems Junction, the fireman emerges from the steam to hand the single-line token to the signalman. Bahamas must now wait for Ginty number 4729 and number 2392 to pass on a special train. We catch up with her again at Oakworth as she steams on towards Oxenhope through steadily worsening weather. Haworth is where the railway's locomotives are housed, and the yard is always a bustle of activity, with locomotives preparing for their day's work. Essential maintenance work, such as this boiler test for GWR pannier tank number 5775, is also carried out at the yard. Number 5775 was built in 1929, coming to the Worth Valley in the early 60s. It performed well for a number of years before being withdrawn for a major overhaul. The completion of the Vintage Carriage Museum at Ingrove provides an additional attraction for the railway, encouraging both people and other locomotives to visit. Before leaving the railway, we asked Nick and Tim why the pannier tank was out midweek in winter on a non-passenger carrying train.
Well, we had the main steam pipes, which are in the smoke box, were found to be leaking at a routine washout, and when we tried to correct the leak, we found that they wouldn't tighten up, so we ended up having to fiddle about with bits of thin copper and so on to seal it, and we had about 3 goes at it, and finally we got it tight. And so today we're using it, giving it a bit of a load just to see if the things are working satisfactorily.
The Bowes Railway is a former colliery railway laid down to carry coal from the Northumberland pits to the rivers of the northeast for shipment. Voluntary staff arrive for work at a railway that is unique. Bowes has the world's only standard gauge rope-hauled incline still in working order, and the whole site is now a scheduled ancient monument protected by the Department of the Environment. The preserved length of line incorporates a section of the Springwell Colliery Railway, designed by George Stephenson and opened in 1826. Number 22, delivered new to the Bowes Railway in 1949, is prepared for duty. Now over 40 years old, her crew still sing her praises.
And it's an old Stephenson's link motion. It's got flat valves. It's got a boiler pressure of, well, a nominal boiler pressure of 160 pounds. And for a little engine, it has a lot of power. It's amazing the amount of power that you've got in a small engine like that.
Passengers ride the line in these specially converted brake vans. The blue livery is used to denote that they're not original to the railway. Just one of the many conditions imposed as a result of being a protected monument. From the main yard at Springwell, number 22's first duty of the day is to take the rope haulage set up Blackham's Hill. The set consists entirely of coal wagons, which were used on the Bowes Railway prior to preservation. Number 22 returns to the yard, while from Blackham's Hill, Gordon Bainbridge explains rope haulage.
There was a number of systems. There was what they call the gravity section, where the weight of the full ones going downhill would pull the empties back. Now, the section we've got here, it doesn't quite work that way. It's a single hauler working one incline where they would run downhill under their own gravity, and the haulage engine would then be put into gear to bring the trucks back up the line. On this incline, we run two sections on both inclines from one hauler house, which is itself a rare thing. Now, the idea was the track down to Springwell was flat enough to allow you to run 12 wagons down, but the track to Blackfell, which was in that direction, was too steep, so you had to run 6s. So that's why we split the train into 2 lots of 6 when it comes back from Springwell. This is just a passing loop. Full wagons, in theory, would go from behind the hauler house east, and the empties would come back onto the track behind, which is the kip, and then run west back towards the collieries where they would have been filled with coal and then sent back to the steers for shipment.
So that visitors can see the system in operation, number 22 prepares to take passengers from Springwell Yard up to the engine house on Blackham's Hill. the line token is exchanged and number 22 steams up the lower part of the east incline before turning off to the small platform at the end of the line. Here, Gordon outlines the railway's plans for the future.
We are hoping to extend the passenger run a little bit further along the old Peel main line, which used to feed into this line a long time ago, which closed in the 1970s. But hopefully we're hopefully going to try and restore all of the equipment, buildings, rolling stock as time goes on to the way they were in 1963.
Back at Springwell Yard, the rope haulage set is being pulled across the road and on up the east incline. The rollers guide the wire rope, while the derailer ensures that any runaway wagons don't reach the road.
That's it, set for it coming back.
At the top of the incline, the wagons are pulled up onto the kip and they come to rest against the block. The engine house hauler then prepares to lower half the set down the west incline to Blackfell. The block and brakes are released and the wagons are lowered over the summit. The bell signals the return, and the hauler pulls the set back up the west incline. The operator cannot see beyond the summit, and indicators are needed to assist him. The smooth operation of the rope haulage system is a complex one and requires precise coordination and timing from the entire team. Our next visit is to York and the National Railway Museum. Established in 1975, in its own words, the museum is an exhibition of nearly 200 years' history of the technical and social changes that were brought about by the British invention of railways and their immense contribution to civilization. Passing through the entrance shop, the first stop is usually the display of railway technology in the Great Hall. The focal point is the locomotive turntable, around which an impressive array of steam, diesel and electric locomotives has been arranged. Aganoria is an early 040 industrial locomotive built in 1829 for shut-end colliery and is the oldest locomotive currently on display at the museum. Furness Railway's Copper Knob number 3 was built only 17 years later, but shows a marked advance in technology. The museum has 2 replicas of Robert Stephenson's famous rocket. This one has been sectioned. Other famous locos, such as LNER's number 4468, Mallard, are originals. Mallard gained a place in the record books in 1938 with a world speed record of 128 miles per hour. In contrast, Class 84 Electric, number 84001, is an example of a British Rail workhorse dating from 1960. But not all exhibits are static. Ellerman Lines, an ex-Southern Railways 426, has been sectioned and motorised to show its interior workings. While this stationary engine is beautifully restored and is a delight to watch. The museum cannot possibly display all of its vast range of locomotives and all of the other exhibits which complement the collection. It's therefore the practice of the museum to lend some items to other museums and private railways. Here on the Keighley and Worth Valley Railway, we see Green Arrow being prepared for work in Haworth Yard. Number 777, Sir Lamiel, steams out of Crewe on a special North Wales Coast Express. And record holder City of Truro appears on a special parade in Utrecht. Back at the museum, the South Hall illustrates the theme of travelling by train. The building was originally the North Eastern Railway's goods depot. One of the main attractions are the royal trains, special carriages built for the royal family by the larger railway companies. The collection spans a century of royal carriages and includes Queen Victoria's 1869 saloon, as well as those of more recent monarchs. This East Coast Express illustrates Edwardian travel, while the Mail by Rail exhibition contains a wide range of postal vehicles. This Pullman car evokes memories of luxury travel, and George Earle's paintings capture the life and atmosphere of the steam age. Outside, there's a memorial to George Stephenson and more exhibits, including this crane and a prototype advanced passenger train. But with so much more still to see, we must leave York now and travel to Leeds and the Middleton Railway, where one of the oldest railways in the world has been restored and allows visitors an escape from the modern city centre. In 1758, an Act of Parliament created the first legislated railway in the world. This horse-drawn freight line then claimed the first successful use of steam traction, when in 1812, a rack and pinion locomotive, devised and patented by John Blenkinsop, pulled a 26-ton train at 5 miles per hour. The railway achieved another first when, in June 1960, it became the first standard gauge line to be operated by enthusiasts. Today, we see Harry, an Andrew Barclay standard 12-inch 040 saddle tank locomotive, built for the Colesium Quarry Company in 1928, as it couples up to the passenger train for a run up the line. Harry, waiting for the points and signals, is finally given the go-ahead. Visitors travel in two CCTs, numbers 1867 and 2048, which have been converted for passenger use. The line soon passes under the M1 motorway, after which there's a branch off to the loco yard. The line is only 1¼ miles long, but uphill all the way, so Harry has to work hard. Finally, with the city receding in the background, Harry pulls into the halt at Middleton Park. While passengers can disembark and stretch their legs in the parkland and woodlands, Harry runs round the train. Once recoupled, Harry sets off back to the station at Moor Road. The Museum of Army Transport at Beverley on Humberside contrasts with the National Railway Museum in that it contains only military exhibits. The museum displays maps, drawings and photographs, as well as some very interesting stock from the former military railways.
The Museum of Army Transport has been in Beverley since 1983 and owes its foundations to various members of the Royal Corps of Transport, the Royal Service Corps and the Royal Engineers. It was made available to us by collections from Borden and at the Royal School of Mechanical Transport at Leconfield, where it was housed in this building, which originally was Europe's largest tannery.
Gazelle, originally a 222 well tank locomotive, was built in 1893 for the private use of William Birkett, a former mayor of King's Lynn. The locomotive was later bought for the Shropshire and Montgomeryshire Railway. This railway was requisitioned by the War Department in 1941. And in the 1950s, Gazelle, with her steaming days over, came to reside at the Longmoor Military Railway. The Longmoor Military Railway was once known as the Woolmer Instructional Military Railway. This standard gauge Class 85 tank engine, built in 1910 by the Avonside Engine Company of Bristol, still bears the name. Another saddle tank from Longmoor is Wagoner, number 92. This austerity class locomotive was built in 1953 by Hunslet and is still in working order. Other displays are slightly more unusual, such as this World War II ramp wagon, which enabled vehicles and tanks to be loaded onto flatbedded trains for rapid transportation. This rail wrecker was captured from the Germans towards the end of World War II and was used in retreat to break up sleepers and so deny the enemy the use of the railway. Rorke's Drift is an 040 diesel mechanical, built in 1934.
Hey, thanks.
Visitors also get the chance to explore for themselves. This photograph conveys something of the conditions in which the World War I armoured train gun truck was expected to operate. Before leaving, Leonie Jordan expands on the development of the exhibition.
Well, it's gone from a small collection and originally there wasn't too much railway equipment within the museum, but as Longmoor Railway closed down, a lot of it was brought here, hence the railway gallery and the railway artefacts which are now housed within the museum. The archives has recently gone public, as it were. Initially it was tucked away at the top of the building with only access by members of staff, but so many inquiries were coming from outside that it was felt we should move it to within easy reach of the public, which it now is housed within the body of the museum.
The North Yorkshire Moors Railway runs for 18 miles from Gromont to Pickering across the beautiful North Yorkshire Moors. It's a railway which has recently gained more widespread fame through the popular TV series Heartbeat. In the yard at Gromont, the day's preparations are well underway. Polishing, coaling and oiling all the essential parts in the preparation of a steam locomotive for its day's work. Lambton Tank number 5, with its shiny black livery, moves off to begin its daily duties. Number 5 exits the tunnel which connects the loco sheds with Gromont Station. Built in 1905 by Robert Stevenson for Lambton, Eton and Joycey Colliery, Number 5 spent all its working life hauling transfer coal trains over the colliery main line in Durham. In 1970, following the fitting of vacuum brakes and steam heating equipment, the locomotive was delivered to the North Yorkshire Moors Railway. Apart from a major overhaul in 1986, number 5 has seen regular service on the line since its delivery. At Gromont Station, number 5 waits patiently for its passengers to board. The station at Gromont has 3 lines, all of which have to cross the road. 2 sets of crossing gates have to be used, providing an unusual feature to the station. Departing from the platform, number 5 slips as the powerful locomotive fights for adhesion. The Merck-esque river is crossed before a tunnel brings number 5 out alongside the locomotive sheds. As the climb towards Goathland begins, both fireman and driver work hard to maintain a steady speed. The 24 cottages at Esk Valley were built in 1870. Workers step safely aside at the sound of the approaching train. In places, there's an almost sheer drop of 100 feet to the valley floor. At Darnholme, sleepy meadows next to the river provide an ideal picnic spot. The gradient between Gromont and Goathland at 1 in 49 is one of the steepest railway gradients in Britain. It replaced the 1 in 10 rope-hauled incline, which was in use between 1836 and 1865. Goathland Station is the first stop on our journey, and number 5 crests the climb and coasts into the platform. Goathland Station has changed little since it was opened on the 1st of July 1865. The design of the station was standard to the North Eastern Railways in the 1860s. There were several identical stations on the British Rail Esk Valley line between Whitby and Middlesbrough. The presence of this fearsome-looking snowplough testifies to the harshness of the winters in this region. Here we pick up War Department class number 3672, Dame Vera Lynn, on a Pickering-bound train. This 210 tender loco originally saw wartime service in Egypt. The track now has to cross open moorland before entering and following the Newtondale Gorge, which was formed at the end of the last ice age some 10,000 years ago. The gorge is 14 miles long and in places 400 feet deep. On the highest point of this moorland stand the three 150 feet high radomes of Fylingdales. The train now sweeps down Newtondale, past these ruins called Carter's House. From a high vantage point in Cropton Forest, the magnificent splendour of Newtondale is laid out before us. Far below, the railway twists past Newtondale Halt. Accessible only by rail, it's an ideal stop-off point for walkers. British Railways Standard Class number 80135 coasts to a halt 9.5 miles from Gromont and deep in Cropton Forest. Finally, the line emerges from amongst the pine trees to run into Levisham Station. The path and road from the station to the village of Levisham climb 300 feet up to the side of the gorge, providing a spectacular vantage point from which to watch the trains come and go. A short walk across the moors from here brings us to Skelton Tower, erected in 1850 by a local vicar to provide a quiet spot for him to write his sermons. Today, it provides one of the most famous views of the railway. At the station, the barriers come down on the road crossing, marking the arrival of the train which will take us on the final leg of our journey. Levisham is a regular crossing point for trains, and first to arrive is Gromont-bound GWR Class 56XX number 6619. Shortly afterwards, number 5 sets off for Pickering, this time with a rake of blue and grey liveried coaches. This stretch of line was double track prior to 1917, when one track was removed to help the war effort. Pickering, and the end of the line for the North Yorkshire Moors Railway, although originally the line continued on south through Malton. as number 5 runs around her train before returning to Gromont.